Welcome back to the chair build episode 2. In this episode we're going to be taking those thin strips that we cut in episode 1 and prepping those with the drum sander. Walk you through the bending form and the glue up process, and then we'll get one of these curved arm pieces glued up in the bending form. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, here's the drum sander. This is what we'll use to sand down these thin strips so we can get these chair legs glued up. The way this works is you've got a flat surface, a conveyor belt. In here you've got a drum. We're going to wrap a roll of sandpaper around that, and then as material is fed through on the conveyor belt, the drum spins around and sands the top of the material. One of the things I really like about a drum sander is I can get material much thinner, cleaner, and more consistent than I can with any other machine or even with a hand plane. The only real drawback to a drum sander is the process can be kind of slow just because you can't take off a lot of material with each pass through here. But the quality of what you get from a drum sander is well worth the time it takes. So what I'll do is I'll show you a couple pieces running through here just so you can see how it works, and then I'll just put some headphones on and listen to a book and get this material sanded down, and then we can get on to showing you how we actually glue these pieces up to make that curved chair leg. As I run these through the drum sander, you'll see the pencil lines that I've marked on here. And the reason that I do that is that even though we've got to sand these down a bit, these pieces already have the look and kind of the feel of finished wood. So if you run them through the drum sander, it can be hard to see the progress that you're making in terms of getting these sanded down consistently. And so what the pencil lines do is simply give me a visual clue or a visual marker as to the progress that I'm making. And so as I run a couple of these through, I'll hold one or two of them up and you can kind of see where the pencil lines get sanded down and where they remain, which indicates that you still got some sanding to do. All right, so we've sanded down all of those thin strips that we need to make these chair legs. We've got 2 stacks of 8 pieces each. This will make one leg, this will make another leg. And the next thing to do is to actually get these glued up and get them on the bending form. But before doing that, I just want to briefly talk about the bending form and show you how that's made. And then I'll walk through a dry run of the glue up so you can see how that actually works. All right, before talking about the specifics of this bending form, I just want to take a quick step back and talk about the chair and kind of where the idea for this came from. When I started this project, I had a really clear idea in mind of what I wanted to try to accomplish. I knew I wanted a chair with a front leg that curved up and formed the arm. And I knew that the back leg would somehow need to curve up into and intersect with that front piece to form the base of the chair. But I'd never made anything like that, so I wasn't sure if that was something that was really possible or plausible. So not surprisingly, I got online, looked on websites of a bunch of woodworkers, looked on Pinterest and some other sites. Eventually saw a chair that looked very much like what I was trying to accomplish. So I knew it could be done. Then I just had to figure out how to do it, which takes us to the bending form. All right, let's start by looking at the back side of this bending form. And it's just, you've got a piece of MDF at the bottom, a piece of MDF at the top, and then you've got pieces of ash in the middle that are glued and screwed in from the top and the bottom. and this gives it strength and rigidity. And then as we get to the glue up, you'll see that these pieces of ash give the clamps something to grab onto on the back side. And the way that you make this is, and I've got two pieces of scrap MDF here to illustrate, is you just take two big pieces of MDF, you screw them together, and then just, you draw your shape, on the one piece. You cut this out, and then use a rasp, sandpaper to get it smooth and get it to the shape that you want. Then you take the two pieces apart, and by doing it this way, those two pieces, this top and this bottom piece, are identical, so that they fit. And then you put this together. All right, the front of the bending form is covered in bending plywood. And then on that, I've got packing tape so that if glue gets on here, you can easily scrape it off with your finger or with a chisel. And then you got these legs or these supports around the perimeter of this. This is what the wood strips will set on as we lay them on here and stack them and clamp them to this. All right, the first step in the glue up is to take the strips and spread them out on a work surface like this. And then what I've got to do is then spread glue out over the entire surface of these strips. All right, once you get the glue spread on those wood strips, you stack them and bring them over to the bending form and put them in this sandwich. And this is obviously looking from above so you can see how this goes together. And the reason you put this glue up in this sandwich is kind of twofold. One, it prevents you from having to put the clamps on the wood itself, because that'll mark up or damage the wood. And the other thing this does is it helps to spread or evenly distribute the clamping pressure throughout the length of this glue up. And then it's just a process of getting a large number of clamps on here and clamping this down and tightening it down. And hopefully you can see that as you tighten this down, it starts to take the shape of the bending form. And you just keep putting clamp after clamp after clamp on here until you get it all the way around. And you can see this part of it is way out here, and it's got to be bent all the way around to the other end of this form. And if it looks like that is challenging, it is because it is. So that's kind of how the glue up goes. All right, that's kind of the basics of how the glue up works. I wanted to show it to you in a dry run or a mock-up like that, because once I start doing this for real, once I lay the strips out and start pouring glue, the clock's running. The glue has an open time of about 10 minutes, which means I've got 10 minutes roughly to spread all the glue out, get those pieces stacked, get them over to the bending form, and get it all clamped up before the glue starts to set. And I can tell you from past experience that that's a challenge. This is a difficult glue up just because the pieces are so big, so long, and this form bends to such a great degree. So what I'll do is I'll set the camera up so that you can see this part of it. I'll get the strips glued up, and then I'll come over here and I'll do the glue up, and you'll be able to see it in all of its glory. And hopefully it goes well. With that said, let's give it a shot. All right, first glue up for the legs is done. Took a little over 10 minutes, but that's all right. That's about what it takes when doing these. That 10-minute window, there's some leeway. And actually all but the last couple clamps on the end I got those into place in under 10 minutes. So it'll be fine. The glue up looks good. The pieces are all even, and I don't see any gaps anywhere. So what we'll do is we'll let this sit for a week. And it needs to sit for a week to make sure that the glue has got time to set and cure, because the one thing you don't want is to take the clamps off too early and for the leg to want to bend back out. So we'll revisit this in a week, get the next one glued up, and in the meantime we'll start making some of the other parts for this chair. So until then, as always, thanks for watching. Got any questions, throw them in the comments or shoot me an email. Till then, we'll see you.